Well, hello, EKN Nation, and welcome to This Week in Karting, episode 49, September 14th, 2022. My name is David Cole. I am joined by editorial assistant Nate Dean as we are providing you with another podcast, including all the major news that hits the EKN homepage for the last essentially couple of weeks, because we haven't done one since August 24th, 2022. That was episode 48. So it's been a little bit since me and you have had a chance to do a podcast. Again, this podcast is perfect for listening on the way to work or coming home, your morning or afternoon commutes, or while working out in the shop and or heading to the racetrack. And that's something that we'll be doing here in the next 24 hours, both me and you, as we're ready to head to Newcastle Motorsports Park for the USPKS finale here. Again, this episode 49, is presented by the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. If you want to improve your results, it's time for professional instruction and coaching at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Located at the state-of-the-art Speed Sports Racing Park just north of Houston, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy offers custom coaching programs for newcomers and experienced racers alike. Train with a champion with over 30 years of racing experience to get proven results. Get ready for the big races by training with the best. Reserve your dates now by calling 866-607 RACE, RACE. That's 7223. So Nate Dean, episode number 48. It's been a couple of weeks since you've been on the podcast. You ready to go with this one?
Yeah, definitely a lot of stuff to talk about. I know at the end of last one, we touched upon more series will be releasing their 2023 calendars. And I know we're going to be starting off the show with talking about that. So a lot of news to cover.
Yes, but first, let's get into some updates regarding some breaking news regarding the SuperKarts USA Super Nationals 25. They announced recently on September 12th, so just 2 days ago, they will be expanding the Pro Shifter category to 88 drivers. Now, looking back, if I recall, and it's something I put on Facebook, we have not seen this amount of Pro Shifters, again, the headline shifter category, reaching this amount of numbers since 2006, back when Gary Carlton won his first Super Nationals victory back at the Sam Boyd Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. So it's been quite some time, nearly 16 years since we've seen this amount of shifters in the headline category.
Yeah, and I think as shifter kart racing, apart from in SCUSA, is kind of starting to struggle a little bit with numbers, it's good to see that there is demand for drivers who want to come run Vegas, run the biggest karting race in North America, it being Super National. So it's good to see that there is interest and that the Pro Shifter category is being expanded to those 82 slots.
Yeah, and again, we 88. We've seen we've seen big numbers. We used to have a really solid S2 program. They were expanded to almost 88 drivers at one time. I want to say that was in the early 2010s when we were still at the Rio when we had S1 and S2, and then we would still have KZ. So we still had a lot of shifter karts, but it was all split up in 3 different categories, 2 different engine packages. Excuse me. I think now with the kind of the focus of, it's almost, with SCUSA allowing the KZ program, it's the worldwide market now. Where before it was just focused on the IAME program. There wasn't a lot of people, your international drivers, that were too keen on racing an engine platform they never race all season long. So I think that might have something to do with it. And then also, just again, I think shifter kart racing as a whole is kind of getting a little bit more popular now. It's kind of wide open in terms of all the different manufacturers. You have CRG up front, you have Tony Kart, you have Magic Kart, you have all the Burrell Art, you have all the different manufacturers that have an opportunity to be competitive. I think that kind of helps in that. What are your thoughts on why you think there's such a growth now compared to maybe 2019?
I don't know. I think with all things in karting, there's just kind of this curve and flow of when things are popular or not. I think we've seen shifter kart racing especially kind of go through a low as of recent years, maybe you can tie it back to the pandemic and it being a fairly costly way to go racing and karting. And now that we're recovering, that people are willing to step into that category. Who knows? But I think it's just the ebb and flow of what classes are popular. And right now, obviously, ship to karts are on the rise.
Yeah, and I would expect to see a lot of international drivers now there too. As you said, with the COVID-19 pandemic, travel is not an issue for international drivers now, either leaving their country or coming here into the United States. So, but pro shifter is not the only category that's going to be big, Nate. There's a number of categories already sold out for this year's event.
Yeah, so as we say, KA Junior, X30 Junior, and Mini Swift are all sold out at the moment. All of those are watching. If you have watched the SCUSA Pro Tour this season, all of those have put on some incredible racing. So seeing those already sold out and still have some time to the event is good to see. Good for numbers. And then Micro Swift and K100 Master is also set to sell out.
Yeah, it's interesting. K100 Master, we've kind of focused on that the last month or so with EKN's Rob Howden racing in that category. As we were at Summer Nationals, there was literally 0 drivers signed up for that category. And now we're looking at possibly selling out at 44 drivers. So that's a really cool program. And it's glad to see that the promotion we did for that category helped stir up the motive, become the motivation for a lot of drivers to come race that event. And yeah, as you said, I'm shocked to see X30 Junior sell out, because that category, hasn't been one of the more popular ones. But I would think that there's going to be a lot of drivers doing double duty, both KA100 Junior and X30 Junior as well. So that'll be interesting to see and how things shake out. And again, I think this is going to be one of the super nationals you don't want to miss, whether you're there to compete or whether you want to just come in on Friday and hang out for the entire weekend and make sure you're there for the Super Sunday action, because I think it's going to be amazing event to watch.
Yeah, if you're on the West Coast and you have nothing going on that weekend, for sure make your way over. Even if you're not on the West Coast and you're just
I was going to say East Coast, I'm sure there's a lot of cheap flights to Vegas around that time, being Thanksgiving. Looking at flight prices right now, it doesn't seem too outrageous. So that it could be, again, I've talked to a lot of people who have never been to the Super Nationals before. And I'm like, this is the one you got to go see. Even if you're just going to go watch, you need to get out there Friday night and then hang out through Sunday, Super Sunday, and leave Sunday night if you have to. But because the event is going to be phenomenal. So can't wait. Yeah. Speaking of phenomenal, one of the top programs here in the United States and North America, to begin with, the Challenge of the Americas program, they have actually announced their 2023 dates, which will start in the month of February for this upcoming, the 16th season of the program. Nate, what are the dates that they've selected for this upcoming season?
So we got 3 weekends so far. The first 2 going at the start of the month time. So that'll be February 3rd through 5th for the first weekend. Second weekend will be March 3rd through 5th. And then be wrapping up their season on April 14th through the 16th.
Yeah, and as of right now, they've announced the facilities, but they're not, again, 100% confirmed based on contracts having not been completely signed and done deal. But they're talking at Cal Speed for the February weekend, Phoenix for March, and then wrapping things up in Sonoma in April. So again, very similar racetracks that we're used to with the Challenge of the Americas program. And then starting out in Cal Speed, I think that's really going to help the numbers. We saw some record numbers in 2021 and 2022, and Cal Speed is certainly among those facilities that will help bring numbers. And then being in the month of February, I think will certainly help. People will certainly have that itch to want to go racing. And a little bit later start. Again, typically they start in the month of January and work through maybe the end of March. But now, Andy Seisman, he's been working with a lot of the programs, especially the winter ones, including Superkarts USA, the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour, making sure everybody's working together to try and stay off each other's dates or schedule around each other. So that way there's the opportunity for everybody to compete at all the different number of events. Of those 3 racetracks, Nate, Cal Speed, Phoenix, or Sonoma, I know you haven't been, well, maybe you've been to Phoenix, I'm not quite sure. Which of those 3 would be the racetrack you'd want to go to?
Phoenix.
Without a doubt,
Phoenix.
Without a doubt, Phoenix. You've never been there, right?
I have been there for the 4-cycle showdown that they have every
Okay.
year back in 2020. So we went down with like 20 people from our club in Minnesota, which was fun. But I've heard good things about Cal Speed and Sonoma. I know friends who have run nationally have both run there, but I think Phoenix has a flow to it that is so hard to come by, that feels natural and is just a really fun and challenging circuit.
Well,
So yeah, without a doubt, Phoenix.
You ran that in different configurations, am I correct?
Yeah, we ran, I think it was clockwise on, we only did run the full track, but it was clockwise on Saturday and counterclockwise Sunday.
Okay, so you've run it both direction. Okay.
Yes.
And that included the S's by the pit lane, correct?
Yeah, we did run the chicane there.
Okay.
That was fun.
Yeah, so I've only done the clockwise direction, and I could never get through the hairpin to get on the long straight at all.
No, even in a 206. Even when you do it,
well, that's what I was
it has
racing.
So little power, and it's like I think I'm doing this right. I don't know if I am.
Yeah, I was racing 206. That was the challenge. Actually, had 206 when it was kind of that transition between Rotax and Rock, and Briggs was brought on to kind of help fuel the fire for the challenge program. So I got to compete there. And again, I'm a master's driver, but I was racing senior category. And there's just something I couldn't get through that hairpin. I think now that I have some years now under my belt of sprint racing the Briggs, I think I could figure it out a little bit more. But that was certainly probably one of the toughest corners. My favorite corner though was at the end of the straightaway with the Daytona corner, with the banking coming off, and you're just flat out all the way down the straightaway, waiting to hit that corner and get through that fast as you can.
Yeah, that one's fun. We only did it in a 206. I can't imagine people doing that in either KA's Shifter X30. That would be fun, to put it one way, but
without a doubt. Again, 2023 calendars are continuing to come in. One of the latest ones is the Texas Sprint Racing Series, and they have announced their dates for the 2023 schedule. Nate, what are those 5 race weekends for them?
So yeah, we're starting off things at NOLA Motorsports Park. That'll be March 24th through the 26th. May 26th through the 28th is Speed Sports. Next 3 dates don't have confirmed tracks, but those will be June 30th through July 2nd, August 4th through the 6th, and then ending off their 5-weekend season on September 15th through the 17th.
Yeah, so again, starting off with NOLA Motorsports Park, that's going to be the warm-up for the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour Winter National. So teams will be able to kick off both the Texas Sprint Racing Series and the SCUSA National Program down in the Big Easy during that the same time period as 2022. So that'll be interesting. And then back to the Lone Star State and Speed Sports in the month of May, and that's actually, I think, Memorial Weekend. So it'll be a memorable weekend for competitors. They'll be on track all weekend long, but also watching probably the action at Monaco, the action at Indianapolis, and then the action again at Charlotte Motor Speedway that night. So certainly a busy weekend then. I'm wondering tracks to be announced. I'm going to assume that North Texas Kartways is going to be in there, but it'll be interesting to see what they fill in for August and September. I'm going to assume with Dallas Karting Complex getting a lot of the doing the reconstruction, having the massive facility, adding essentially another racetrack on top of or alongside of the one they already have. I got to assume that maybe Dallas Karting Complex could be one of those facilities that'll be added for 2023. What are your thoughts on that, Nate?
Yeah, so I mean, last season we went to NTK, Amarillo, and then Speed Sports again to end off the season. So I don't think they're going to do Speed Sports twice again. I think they're going to want a bit more variety. And then Amarillo, there was a lot of talk about that track being in some financial issue and probably not going on to the calendar again. So I think NTK will be on there, but then it does bring up 2 slots for different tracks. And I think you're right with your pick, but it should be interesting to see what fills up the final one then.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And again, once those become confirmed, we'll have the information here on ekartingnews.com. So let's get into our first break here as we continue on with This Week in Karting, episode 49, September 14th. So a couple commercials here as we get into segment number 2.
Need race fuel or oil? Hyperfuels is an authorized distributor for several of the brands that are spec fluids in American karting, including Elf and Aspen Sport. They also stock and ship methanol. Hyperfuels has a web store that can take your orders 24/7, and they ship UPS. That's right, Hyperfuels can ship fuel and oil right to your door. Whether you need Elf Racing Fuels or Elf ATX 909 oil or Aspen Sport 98 octane fuel for SCUSA competition, they have it in stock. When you need it now, go to hyperfuels.com. In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at www.franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We're constantly adding to the growing product selection on the online store, and we ship daily to ensure products get to you quickly. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, ceramic products, driveline branded products, Briggs & Stratton engines, OTK products, and of course, the championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fill your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com.
Welcome back to This Week in Karting, episode number 49. It is September 14th, 2022. I am David Cole, joined by Nate Dean, getting another podcast experience for yourself to get on the microphone. Again, we shut off the camera, so we don't necessarily have to look at each other while we're talking. So is that a good thing or a bad thing, Nate?
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
It's good. I'm all cleaned up. I'm ready to go. I got a tennis match I got to go to later tonight for my son, so I'm all ready to go for that and pick up my daughter from school. And you're going to be getting ready to head to in a car tomorrow to head to Newcastle Motorsports Park. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show. But right now, we'll do a couple little race reports that had just happened recently, both over the Labor Day weekend. I was at the Rock Island Grand Prix, but also going on was the inaugural Lone Star Grand Prix at the Speed Sports Racing Park that we just talked about regarding the Texas Sprint Racing Series. They had a massive kind of one-off event planned for Labor Day weekend. Unfortunately, weather had a little bit to say on what happened at this racetrack. You know, Alan Rudolph had a great plan of having a type of Triple Crown type format over a 2-day span, including a practice day as well. Unfortunately, a big major rainstorm and it was making its way through the state of Texas. They kind of had to put everything all into one day, to where I think they ran 3 different races in one day and didn't get done till I want to say 3 a.m. local time. So a bit crazy for the Lone Star Grand Prix and Labor Day weekend, but a lot of money handed out, including a cash purse courtesy of Ferguson Truck Center. So Nate, give us a little rundown on the 5 categories that they did have competing there this weekend or that weekend.
Yeah, so KA Senior was the one with the big cash prize. That was $5,000 for the winner, obviously going to Austin Garrison. Alex Stanfeld would come in third, and then rounding out that podium would be Peyton Phillips. Have KA Junior, Helio, you're going to have to bear with
Meza.
me. Helio Meza took the win for KA Junior, $3,000 going to him, then Landon Skinner and Braden Domague.
Yep, Don McGee.
All right. Doing good.
Yeah.
Briggs 206 Senior, Aiden Rudolph taking that one. Again, Austin Garrison on the podium yet again in second. And then this is where I struggle.
Blaze Dorenbaum finished in the third spot. I think the Mini Swift and Micro Swift are a little bit easier. Josie Chambers beat out Sawyer Chambers for the top spot ahead of David Yarbrough. And then in Micro Swift, it was Alex Chandler beating out Aston Wyatt ahead of Cade Casper for the top 3. And kind of an interesting weekend for Garrison. He actually ran on the GFC chassis, had trackside karting services. Tim Lobaugh there. He's one of the new dealers there that are working with the GFC brand. So Gary Lobaugh was there with Tim Lobaugh, having Austin Garrison driving both the KA senior category and in the Briggs 206 division as well. So a lot of experience there to be able to nearly pull off a $6,000 weekend, but still over $5,000, and a pretty cool cowboy hat for Austin Garrison to leave the Lone Star Grand Prix.
Yeah, I can definitely say if I was running KA senior or Briggs 206 senior with Austin running, you'd be like, all right, so we're just running for second here. But
yeah, and again, in the wet conditions, Austin, a Florida native, he's got a lot of experience there racing in the wet weather, so that's good for a good experience for him. And then again, Alex Stanfield second in that KA senior category. Good to see. I'm wondering if I'm not sure how Aiden did in the KA 100 senior category. I'm sure he raced that, but pretty good to pick up a victory at his home track, along with Elio Meza winning that junior division. So again, a tough start to the inaugural Lone Star Grand Prix, but they got it in, they got it done. They handed out some cash, well over $10,000 in money for sure, guaranteed. They were hoping to get more. Obviously, the weather kind of put a little damper on that. So moving now to the other event that was going on Labor Day weekend, the Route 66 Sprint Series was at the Kart Circuit Autobahn in the Autobahn Country Club in Joliet, Illinois. Racetrack I've been to once, but they totally have redone that facility over the last couple of years. Certainly a great kart rental track with Alan Bertignoli there in charge, managing the racetrack and getting a great CRG fleet of rental karts there. So they get a lot of rental karts. They got the Margay Night program there. So it's great to see the Route 66 Sprint Series going to a facility like this. Talk about some of the highlights from the Route 66 race there at Autobahn, Nate.
Yeah, so the big main event class, you can call it, K100. Brandon Lemke earning that title for the K100 class. In the junior class, Cameron Brinkman subbed for Ava Hansen in KA Junior. Brinkman won both days, giving the title to Ava Hansen. And then Height in 206 Junior and Mardon in K Master double up on the weekend, taking both day wins.
Yeah, Malachi and Laurentiu getting 2 wins on the weekend along with Brinkman, so they were kind of the big winners. And then, as you said, Lemke earning a victory on Saturday and then able to clinch the KA 100 senior title on Sunday. That KA 100 senior category has been super massive at the Route 66 program all season long. 29 drivers there at Autobahn. I want to say they averaged over 30 at all the other events throughout the season. Again, it just kind of talks about how great the 100cc package has been for 2-cycle racing, not only at the national level, but club and regional as well, too.
Yeah, I know, talking from experience from our club in Minnesota, the K100 is definitely on the rise, and I think it took off quite quick on the national and regional level side of things, but now it's starting to trickle into the grassroots and the club level type, and it's finally starting to get its strides, at least from what we're seeing.
Yeah, and speaking of that club, the Stockholm Karting Center Club program, we'll talk a little bit about that in our next segment as we're going to take another commercial break and get into segment number 3 of This Week in Karting, episode number 49 on September 14th through 2022. And we'll be right back after this break.
There's a new hot button name in American safety equipment, Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. The ST5 KRT karting helmet is available for $599. Manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material, the KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for the younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision. The perfect youth helmet is available for $549. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva Rib Protector is unlike any on the market, with its form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. Head to StiloHelmets.com to review these and many more products to keep you safe on the track. Stilo. Any competition, one helmet. It all started in 1994 when former successful kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Fast forward 20 years, and Parolin's passion for the sport led to the company rejoining international competitions as a factory team in WSK and CIK FIA races, with the aim of enhancing the research and development process, immediately achieving notable results around Europe, North America, and Asia, becoming the CIK FIA Asia Pacific KZ champion in the same year. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products, and we run a factory team at all of the major Superkarts USA and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup for 2021 includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior classes, and the 28mm mini kart for the cadet classes. Parolin has been winning races all over the world, and it's on top of the podium in the USA as well, with drivers like Kai Sorensen, Mateus Orjuela, and Alessandro De Tullio. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com.
We are back. This week in karting here, David Cole with Nate Dean, our editorial assistant with ekartingnews.com. Welcome. Thank you again for everyone for listening, whether you're on podcast, whether you're on the ECAN radio network right now, whether you're, again, going to or from work or just listening to it at home. Thank you again for tuning in as we provide you all the latest news and updates within the sport of karting over the last week or so. One of the major events across the globe took part also Labor Day weekend was the KZ World Championship. It was also part of the KZ2 World Cup, KZ2 Masters World Cup, and the Academy Trophy finale held at Le Mans International Karting Center in Le Mans, France. Certainly one of the more profile, historic karting facilities in the world. Again, sitting there right next to the 24-hour Le Mans circuit. This one was probably one of the biggest shifter kart events that we have seen in a very, very long time. You're talking almost 40 KZ drivers. You had probably well over 100 in the KZ2 category, not to mention over 70 in the KZ2 Masters division as well. And then you add in the over 50 drivers representing all the different countries that are part of the Academy Trophy, including United States and Canada and Mexico and other countries that we're familiar with in the Academy Trophy program. So it'd be interesting. I've never been to an event like this, and I got to tell you, that many shifter karts on a racetrack, the grip level has got to be insane. What do you think about that, Nate?
No, yeah, I can't imagine. I know there's been times where SCUSA runs at Newcastle and it gets really hot there for some nats, and some corners you can put your shoe down in a rubber patch and it just won't come back up. I can't imagine on a hot August day in central France what kind of rubber is being put down on that Le Mans circuit. But yeah, it must be crazy.
And not to mention, they did get a lot of on and off rain. That's something that's kind of synonymous with Le Mans. And no matter what event is there, whether it be car racing or kart racing, it's just something about rain always hitting that area. So that was something they had to deal with. All the competitors had to deal with as well. We'll get into the results. Victor Gustafsson. I can't say his name, man. Gustafsson. There we go. Sweden.
Swedish CRG driver.
Yeah, Swedish CRG driver with the TM was able to pull off the world championship in the KZ category. Last year's defending champion Noah Mila finished runner-up, with Jeremy Iglesias putting two CRG drivers on the podium. So you had two Swedes and two CRGs on the podium, two TMs, and then a Vortex and Tony Kart to kind of wrap up the podium for that. I didn't get a chance to watch any of the racing. Were you able to watch any of the KZ stuff there?
I tuned in a little bit, but we were also just busy that weekend. But I tuned in for like 10, 15 minutes. And of course, it's shifter kart, it's FIA, it's Le Mans. It's always good racing.
Yeah, Simo Puhaka, another notable name across the globe in terms of karting. He actually announced his retirement prior to the event. He wrapped up his career with a 4th place finish. Other notables in the event: Pedro Hildebrand finishing 11th, Martin Kremers 16th. Both of those drivers have been racing with PSL Karting here, in the United States. So again, top 20 finishes for them. A top 10 finish for a 2-time former world champion, Lorenzo Travisanuto, finishing 9th on the Parolin. Last year, Super Nationals winner Matteo Vigiano finishing 15th. And then former F1 driver Jaime I can never say his right. Alguersuari. Thank you, Nate. Finished 24th. But just to be in the main event in the KZ category, again, he's not a full-time karter. He's come back. He's technically, I think, a full-time DJ, and to come back and compete with these world champion type caliber drivers, certainly a pretty cool program. And then probably had a few F1 fans in the stands to kind of see what he could do.
Yeah, the music producer who also did a bit of F1 on the side, Jaime Alguersuari, competing. But yeah, I haven't followed his journey back into karting and racing as much. I know you're right in saying that he is starting to come back to it a little bit after his stint at Toro Rosso in Formula One, it's good to see. He was a massive talent in the junior categories and never got a real shot in Formula One. So it's nice to see him back in karting and doing, 24th at a international event like this is pretty good still.
Yeah, the World Championship. Again, I think he came back last year, but some injuries kind of kept him sidelined for a little bit, and I'm assuming he's still trying to get back into that prime, at least a little bit close to that prime performance that he could put down. KZ2 World Cup program that was won by Arthur Carbonell, the French driver on the CRG, Christian Bertuca, the Burrell Art driver from Italy, and Arvid Lindblad, the British driver on the Kart Republic, finishing 3rd. I think Arvid is a okay driver as well too. So he's able to he's going to be one of those drivers, I think, racing for the World Championships in the OK category here this weekend, I believe. Yes, the World Championships are this weekend.
I
think so. I think they're at Sarno, if I recall correctly. So I'll double check on that. I'm pretty sure it's this weekend because I noticed that we'll have to be kind of keeping tune as to what's going on over there. KZ2 Masters made its debut this year, a new category, part of the FIA program to try and get some of the older drivers or more established drivers back into the limelight, the spotlight, as you will. Thomas Latour, Saudi driver from France, was able to defend his home turf and score the inaugural victory over Eric Ramon, another French Saudi kart driver. And Thierry Delray, the Belgian driver driving aboard the Mach 1, finishing in the 3rd spot. It was actually powered by a Modena, so that was the only Modena on the podium throughout the 3 different shifter kart categories. You had Vortex and TM, and then Modena for Del Rey. We had a number of Americans in this category. We had Jordan Musser, along with Cliff Coella and Patrick Otto Madsen representing the United States. We had also some drivers from Mexico as well. Victor Jimenez from Mexico. He races here in the United States a lot. He ended up finishing in the 21st spot, One of the more notable names, though, that a lot of Superkarts USA racers will remember, Mirko Mazzoni, finishing in the 6th spot. Mazzoni's been a Superkarts USA Masters driver for a number of years. And so P6, that's essentially the top finisher of names that we know and are familiar with. For a 7-time world champion finishing in the 13th spot. He actually had contact with Jordan Musser during one of the heat races. That was one of Musser's bad finishes, along with a carburation issue in the superheat, which did not allow Musser to continue on. Otherwise, talking with Musser, he said he had probably top 10 pace to be able to compete. But again, the rubber, I think, was one of the biggest hurdles that he had. Because again, it's so hard to kind of replicate that type of atmosphere, that type of condition here in the United States. Again, like you said, I think you mentioned it, Superkarts USA at Newcastle or even maybe Phoenix has been about the only time that we come close to what we see over in Europe.
Yeah, and obviously you can't replicate it on a practice day. It's one of those things where it's I wouldn't say very rare, but it is rare when you have conditions that are that sticky, and it only comes by every couple years, really, with how rubbered up that track was at Le Mans. And you have to learn on the fly. And it becomes who can improvise this the best. And obviously just incredibly tricky conditions.
Yeah, certainly. And then the rain as well, too, kind of throwing in the wildness for that as well. Moving on to the final part, the Academy Trophy program wrapped up its 3-round program there in Le Mans. Representing the United States, Caleb Gaffera, he ended up recording a DNF after a tough weekend there in France. He got a lot of pizza, but not a lot of good results there that weekend on the Labor Day weekend. Ended up finishing P16 in the standings for the championship. So not quite where he finished last year, but overall, again, it's very tough to kind of get over there. Everybody's on the same equipment, so it's fair in that end, but a lot of drivers might have a little bit edge in terms of knowing the track. I believe Caleb was there at Le Mans before, so it's not like he didn't know it. Just, again, racing luck didn't go his way. Neither did it go for Mateus Orjuela, the Colombian who we have seen here race in the United States a number of times, actually winning Superkarts USA Winter Series Championship. He's won a number of times at the United States Pro Kart Series as well, too. He recorded a DNF as well in the main event, but ended up finishing 3rd in the championship standings. So a great first year for Mateus in the junior category and part of the Academy Trophy as well. So it'll be interesting to see. We're going to see Caleb this weekend. So we'll be able to get more info on how his weekend actually went. And I would not doubt to see Mateus Orjuela either at both Rock Vegas and the Super Nationals 25 as well.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that with the pizza comment is the food trucks they supply at Le Mans, at least come around for the 24, have some great pizza. So if they had them there for the kart race, I'm sure people enjoyed that.
So you've been there?
I have been to Le Mans. We had the chance to. I have the 2019 race where like GTE was still good. I had the chance to go run the kart circuit at rental karts, but at the same time the race was going on. So I'm like, yeah, just we'll go do that. Maybe not do rental karts right now. But I've seen the track. I've been there. It does look incredibly fun. I kind of wish I did go out and did a couple sessions, but still.
Yeah. I got to say, if I ever get an opportunity to drive a track that I've never driven before, I got to do it no matter what's going on. Because I've had regrets in the past for not doing that same thing. So I'll tell you this, Nate, next time you go to any international event and you get the opportunity to do a rental kart session, definitely do it. You got to do it because you never know when you're going to be able to go back. I'm sure you're young enough to go back to Le Mans and enjoy that. So you might have the opportunity to do that again.
No, yeah. Next time we'll definitely do it. It's just the line was so long. That was the thing.
Oh, without a doubt. I don't doubt that as well. So
yeah.
I kind of teased it. You were talking about the local club that you are part of. they actually had the 2022 showdown at Stockholm Karting Center. So give us a little bit more details. You did a race report on that for ekartingnews.com. Give us some insight into the event up there in middle of Minnesota.
Yeah, so it was the third to last race weekend for the Stockholm Karting Center Racing Series. 98 entries, which is more on the high side of what we've had throughout the season. Biggest field was that Briggs 206 senior category, 19 entries for that one. Has a bit of a different format to what you might expect. It's a 2-day event, but it's counted as one race day. There's 6 heats. Heat 1 is obviously determined. Your starting order is determined by qualifying. The 2nd through 5th heats, you are determined by starting order, but the front 50% gets an invert. So it gives those in the midfield a better chance on competing and seeing some new faces up front, which we did. Chris Linden in 206 Heavy and Ryan Franke in SKC Outlaw were the only two to sweep the weekend. Colby Klemek in Rookie 2 was 1 race away from making it a full sweep. He got 5 heat wins, but just came short. And then Rookie 1 after the weekend, 206 Rookie 1, 206 Senior, and World Formula Masters title fights came closer than they've ever been. We have had a race weekend since then, but we do still have one more. And yeah, always have great racing here. I might be a little biased, but the 206 classes in particular are always unpredictable and a must watch.
Now you talk about 6 heat races. Is that's the format I think that you kind of stole from the showdown that's down at the Phoenix Kart Racing Association? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, we did a nice little Control-C, Control-V from the West to Midwest on that one.
But there they run different layouts. You guys I think you only have one layout possible up there at Stockholm, correct?
We have 3 different layouts possible. We did run counterclockwise on Saturday, and then we switched the direction to clockwise on Sunday.
Okay. Yeah, that's got to be a little bit I mean, it's great for tires because you're going to wear down one side on one day and then you just go different directions, so it helps kind of even out the wear that way. But it's certainly got to be a little grueling because, again, 6 heat races over 2 days. Club racers aren't typically used to that kind of that amount of racing in 2 days, are they?
No, and obviously we had Saturday was the day of 4 heats, so that's when everyone gets a little bit tired. You're up till about 7 doing that, but a lot of them have been kind of going into regional series or like Rock Island or Quincy. I know a fair few of them have started to branch out to those regional series, and I think it wasn't too much of a shock, those longer races.
Yeah, it does sound like again, kind of mixing things up, changing it a bit. As you said, you have 3 different layouts to where it's not like Newcastle where you have infinity amount of different layouts that you could possibly do. So again, a different format kind of changes things up and kind of puts an emphasis on one weekend for the year. I know a lot of other clubs, they kind of have like that mid-championship event where either they award double points or they just have a special trophy. So it's always good to kind of have that one special event outside the series finale and the championship as well. So let's get into our third break of the show this week in karting, episode number 49 on September 14th, 2022. And we'll have a little bit about karters making the progression into the motorsports rank. And we'll wrap up the show with our usual closing segments here on This Week in Karting.
Winning takes top quality equipment, flawless preparation, experienced coaching, and passion. And at Team GFC, we live our passion. Developed by American karting champion Gary Carlton, the GFC chassis has become one of the newest brands to reach the top of the podium in North America. GFC has garnered victories and championships at all levels of the sport since its debut at the end of 2018. Shifter car drivers are at the front of the field in the GT14 frame, with the SS31 a consistent contender in tag and 100cc competition. Team GFC has arrive and drive packages available for all categories, including the mini and micro classes utilizing the GFC RR5 cadet chassis. These young pilots have the opportunity to be part of the Team GFC Young Driver Development Program. Learn from one of the best American karters with 28 years racing at the highest levels of the sport, offering personalized training on and off the track. Follow GFC Karting on Facebook and Instagram, or click over to gfckarting.com to learn more about joining Team GFC. GFC, live your passion. History, success, family. Those are the three words that can describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation located just outside of Indianapolis has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. From full karting packages, new engines, spare or replacement parts, and safety gear, find it all at CometKartSales.com. Their Comet Racing Engine service has won multiple major events and championships over decades of karting and continues to offer the best trackside service in the industry, specializing in IAME X30, IAME Swift, and other 2-cycle power plants. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today.
Welcome back to our final segment of This Week in Karting, episode number 49. It is September 14th, 2022. I am David Cole with Nate Dean. Again, thank you for joining us, either listening on the ECAN Radio Network or through our podcast. Again, pick up the podcast anywhere you get your podcast, any platforms, iHeartRadio, Podbean, where we store our podcasts on, or any other services that you do download your podcast from. So a little bit of progression news here regarding drivers that are looking to make that step up the ladder of the motorsports rank. Some big news coming out this week as the Road to Indy announces Skip Barber Racing School as the official racing school beginning in the 2023 program or 2023 season.
Yeah, so obviously beginning 2023, $100,000 scholarship to the champion of the Skip Barber Formula Race Series, and that'll be used to advance to the USF Juniors for the following season. I think especially within karting, we've seen it the past couple of years, but it's kind of my go-to word, the involvement and that Skip Barber is putting into karting and young talent and promoting that young talent is great to see, and it's definitely needed. So it's a great opportunity for those drivers to have.
Yeah, Skip Barber Racing School, one of the more historic programs here in North America in terms of developing drivers, not only young, but old as well, too. Any type of age that you are able to go and be part of the Skip Barber Racing School. And the Skip Barber Formula Race Series is certainly something that they've kind of reestablished and are trying to grow. We know back in the, heydays of Skip Barber, there was a lot of names that came through there. Ryan Hunter-Ray, AJ Allmendinger. Some more recent names include Joseph Newgarden and Connor Daly. Certainly, they know their way around talent in helping to groom them towards the next step. And so it's going to be a really cool thing to kind of see drivers, especially karters, going to move that want to go that open wheel route. Start off in Skip Barber, get involved in that racing program, be able to win that championship and move into the USF Juniors program, the first step of the Road to Indy program before moving on to USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000. So a very familiar, I guess, ladder system or format that we've seen before, and it's kind of reestablishing here for 2023 season. So excited to see what happens with that. I know there are some current karters in the Skip Barber Formula Race Series right now. So I would expect to possibly see that program either double up in terms of former karters or just numbers overall, as this new scholarship program is kind of dangled in front of everybody. Also, one of the other programs that eKarting News has been involved with over the last 3 seasons is the Mazda's Club Racing Factory Team program. Again, the Mazda Shootout Spec MX5 program is what we kind of have been involved with a little bit more so than the MX5 side of things. Nominating a number of different karters to be part of this shootout and be part of the program. Well, when they announced the 9 or the finalists, I guess they were nominees. So the nominees, it was probably a list of maybe about 40 different drivers that have been part of karting and were looking to be part of this program. Well, they narrowed it down to 9 drivers that will compete at this year's shootout program. Who are those 9 drivers, Nate?
So those drivers being Chase Jones, Dalton Haynes, Finnegan Bailiff, along with other Gavin Bailiff, Hannah Greenmeyer, Hayden Jones, Macy Williams, Nolan Allison, and Reed Sweeney are your 9 drivers.
Yeah, all 9 familiar drivers. We're all pretty familiar with those names, especially Hannah Greenmeyer, the last year's SuperKarts USA Pro Tour champion, and now one of the only 2 drivers to be in both EKN driver rankings for both shifter kart and tag as well. So certainly a well-rounded driver. I think Hannah's made great strides over the last couple of years. Hayden Jones finished second this year in the X30 Senior Pro Tour Championship. Is going to be among those battling this weekend for the USPKS Championship program as well too. Excuse me. One of the interesting names, Reed Sweeney. If you're not familiar with it, he's been part of the Margay Ignite program. One of the drivers that essentially has started in the Ignite program in the cadet divisions and has worked his way up through junior and now senior ranks. So it'll be interesting to see how he does and the feedback that we hear back from Mazda from him. But I know, Macy Williams, she's been there before. Both Bailiff brothers, they have a lot of experience, so it'll be great to see them. Dalton Haynes, that's another great name. He made his statement in the sport of karting last year at the IME Grand Nationals, and then certainly has been among the top contenders throughout the year. And then Chase Jones, that's another unique name. He has a lot of dirt car experience. So making that transition, he grew up in karting. He did a lot of the street racing in Indiana, and I actually raced alongside him at the Rock Island Grand Prix. I want to say it was 2013 when I ran the Victory Kart there. He was part of the Top Kart USA program at that time. He's a big part of MPG Motorsports right now, but also involved behind the wheel as well too. So excited to see what happens with this program. The date and location for the shootout has not yet been announced, so we'll get more information on that, and we'll see who's able to follow in the footsteps of Nate Cicero and Weston Workman from last year, and Alex Bird and Bryson Morris in 2020. So excited to see what comes from that. Any kind of what maybe 2 or 3 names kind of stand out for you, Nate?
I mean, I think obviously the Bailiffs are both very strong drivers that will be in contention for that. Hayden Jones, the past couple of years, watching him come up through the ranks, has really gotten into his stride as of late and has been a front runner up in X30 and KA whenever he runs. Either of those 2 categories always to challenge up front the likes of Ryan Norberg. So I think he'll be one to look at. If I had to pick at least one, I would put my money on Hayden, but we'll have to see.
Yep, we'll have to see. We'll wait. And again, once we learn more about the date, location of the shootout, we'll provide that with you. And of course, we'll be anticipating the action that happens there. Action in terms of EKN editorial. Let's move into that segment. We got our recent EKN driver rankings presented by Skip Barber Racing School for both shifter kart and tag. And number 1, AJ Myers. Number 2, Martin Kremers, and number 3, Jake French in the shifter kart rankings. Nate, who are the top 3 that we have right now in tag?
So staying at the front, have AJ Myers that still leads, Martin Kremers in second, and then Jake French in third. For the tag driver rankings, again, with the number 1 spot, Ryan Norberg still sitting pretty on that number 1 throne. You have Jones and
Hayden Jones sitting there in second, and then Thomas Nepfu in the third spot, the Canadian. Again, he's been banking on results that he had at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. He has not been in a kart since, I want to say, the Winter Nationals in NOLA. So again, that's it's a pretty good stout of segment of results for him to be able to hold that third spot heading into the final stretch of the 2022 season. So be interesting now that the USF 2000 program has wrapped up. We'll see if Nepvu is back behind the wheel of a kart here to wrap up the 2022 season. After that, we are a new segment that we're going to be running over the next couple of months is the Drive to 25, Rob Howden's Super Nationals journey. We have part 1 and now actually part 2 that was just published on the website here this morning, available for you to read. It talks about just the idea of Rob racing out the Super Nationals in part 1. And then now in part 2, he's going to be racing with Rollison Performance Group. So a unique position for Rob to be announcer and racer at one of the biggest events in the world.
Yeah, and it's been fun to see all of his updates and all the things he's been saying in the group chat, our little chat here at ECAN, and then obviously on his stories that everyone can see. It's been a bit of a journey for him, so it should be fun to see where he ends up, essentially, if he makes it to Super Sunday.
I'm gonna be tired of looking at photos of gyms with him for sure. That's because
I wasn't going to be the one to say it.
That's one place you haven't seen me in probably well over a year.
True.
And then you're too skinny, so you don't need a gym, do you?
No, I kind of just rely on race weekends and running to go and grab people out of the grass. So that's my workout.
Well, grabbing people out of the grass is not something you can do at the Rock Island Grand Prix because it's a street race. And again, if you're in the grass, that's not a great particular spot to be in. I do know of one driver that actually was in a tree on the weekend. And luckily, everybody walked away clean and unharmed. And so it was overall a pretty good weekend. Get all our coverage from the 2022 Extreme Rock Island Grand Prix up on the website as part of our ECAN editorial stuff that we've produced over the last couple of weeks. Getting into, the ECAN podcast review. Again, this show and all our podcasts are available through iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, and other podcast outlets. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us a review. Make sure you download anything that you haven't listened to or downloaded recently to be able to be caught up with all the different podcasts we provide, including the last This Week in Karting, episode 48, and on August 24th. We also have the face-to-face episode with Alan Rudolph of the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. We kind of previewed the Lone Star Grand Prix and kind of talked about the Academy and also his race team that he's working with out of the Speed Sports Racing Park there in New Caney, Texas, just north of Houston. And then also ECAN Outlap for Rock Island Grand Prix and also the debrief for the Rock Island Grand Prix. And now the 100th episode of the debrief. That was essentially, if we go back to, I think it was 2017 when we first started doing podcasts, the debrief was just going to be a regular podcast that we would go on and talk about things kind of similar to what we're doing now here with This Week in Karting. We kind of morphed it into our post-race coverage to kind of talk about things that maybe we didn't get into details on the race report or things we might have missed regarding the race report. So again, crazy to be at episode 100 on the debrief. Nate, what was your first podcast for eKarting News that you listened to? Do you remember that?
It was after I think it was after a WKA event in like 2018 or something. It might have.
So you wanted to hear what we talked about with you?
Well, every driver needs to hear praise about them. Our egos are built off of it.
Good. That is a very good point. Yes, we are a way of building egos and deflating the egos as well, as I try to deflate Rob's ego over and over again. So you'll get used to it when you come hang out with us at Cup Carts here. We'll talk about that in a minute. So again, ECAN Radio Network, the only 24 hours, 7 days a week channel strictly karting radio station, in the only karting radio station in the world. Again, you can listen to This Week in Karting that we're talking about right now. It'll be playing on the radio here this week. We also have playing right now the Outlap for the United States Pro Kart Series. That's playing right now on the EKN Radio Network. We'll also have the USPKS Live Rewind that we'll have here on, I want to say, Friday. And then as we get into race coverage, you'll be able to listen to all the USPKS live coverage all weekend long here on the EKN Radio Network. So excited to see what's coming on EKN. So let's talk about it. United States Pro Kart Series Heartland Grand Prix at the Newcastle Motorsports Park, September 16th through the 18th. Nate, we are going to be trackside together for the first time as EKN staff members.
Yeah, exciting. I've been to Newcastle. I've never been to a USPKS event, so that'll be two first times for me. So really looking forward to this, and especially after the season USPKS has had, and this is going to be the final weekend, championships decided. It should be a good weekend to come.
What are your thoughts on them racing the national layout? That's been the standard since 2004, since we started racing at the Newcastle Motorsports Park. Again, with the start-finish line on the Long Pond straightaway, so you get the big draft coming out of I-70 to set up for some photo finishes. A lot of other programs, they've done the national reverse, or they've done the super mile, so they can include the ski jump. Some other programs have done kind of the shorter course. What are you excited to see USPKS on what is the actual first layout of Newcastle, or were you hoping for a little something different?
I think coming at it from a driver's perspective, I would be happy that it's kind of going back to normal, in quotes, the track layout that we've had for a long time before we start switching it up. From a photographer and media perspective, I'm a little annoyed we're not doing the ski jump, but I'll get over that.
Well, we actually have some photos that we want to do on the ski jump, so we'll hopefully have that next week or over the weekend to be able to show all the EKN Nation and viewers what it is we were thinking of. Yeah, I get your point there. It is pretty cool to kind of watch karts go over the ski jump. To me, I think it's too big of a racetrack. I think, again, when you talk in terms of sprint racing, and I think you guys are kind of spoiled up there at Stockholm, you can see everything from the top of the hill looking down on the racetrack. It makes for an easy viewing area, where Newcastle's a little bit harder. And then when you start doing the super mile and the ski jump, it gets kind of where you're only getting maybe 50% of the racing.
Yeah. And I do the announcing for Stockholm, so I could not be more spoiled with my home track and the view I get there, which, yeah, Newcastle, when it kind of goes into the non-traditional layout, I could definitely see how that gets a bit, I can't really see what's going on here. What do I say?
Yeah, there's definitely blind spots no matter where you are on the racetrack, unless you're sitting on I-70 watching the race. So that might be the only best perspective.
Unless you're on a really big ladder in the scoreboard corner.
That too. Good point. Yes. In scoreboard. Yep. Or in cell tower. I think cell tower would probably be, if you're actually up on the cell tower, maybe that's the best. So yeah, again, we will be at Newcastle multiple times over the next 4 weeks, including especially myself. Me and you will be there this weekend. We will also be there for the Cup Karts North America Grand National 6 at the Newcastle Motorsports Park. That's going to begin September 29th, a Thursday, with unofficial practice, and will run through October 2nd, which will host the main events on that Sunday. Nate, you're going to be there. I'm going to be there. Rob's going to be there. So it'll be the full EKN crew. Some of us will be racing, and then when we're not racing, we're going to be covering the event. So it's going to be a busy and fun-filled weekend.
Yeah, really, really looking forward to that. I know a lot of people from our home track go there and have a fun time when it doesn't rain. So hopefully I can, me being the person who absolutely loves driving in the rain, can bring some dry weather. But hey, I'm really looking forward to seeing you and Rob and just all the people from our track. It should be a very, very fun event.
All right. Are there any Masters guys I got to watch from your racetrack?
Masters? I don't think so.
Okay,
I think,
good.
Yeah, I think you're good on the master side of things.
All right. Good. All right. Yeah. So I'm hoping, I do hope the rain stays away. It's been a rainy event over the last couple of years. So hopefully we'll keep that away. But, they're just about to hit that 300 mark in terms of entries for the 8 different categories that are going to be competing. 8 different Briggs and Stratton 206 categories on the weekend. I think we'll probably hit that 350 mark and exceed last year's 327. I think was the total entry. So that's certainly on the horizon, and we'll talk more about that. Hopefully, we'll get Greg Jasperson on for a face-to-face, and then of course we'll have our Outlet podcast. I'm sure all 3 of us will have to be on that show, so we'll be able to fill everybody in on what we're going to be able to provide and who we can talk about heading into that event. And then the weekend after that, Rob will be staying in the Newcastle area. I will head home for a couple of days and then head back for the October 7th through 9th weekend at Newcastle Motorsports Park as we provide live coverage of the Rotax U.S. Trophy Final. It'll be the location for 12 different Rotax Grand Final tickets to be awarded for competitors to compete at the 2022 Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals at Portimao, Portugal later this November. So I tell you what, Nate, there's no other event like this where obviously this is a little different. It's not the U.S. Grand Nationals, but it's very similar to that. But just seeing the excitement of drivers winning a ticket to the Rotax Grand Finals, there's certainly nothing like it.
Yeah, and the event in Portimao is one that I haven't watched or followed too much in recent years. So it's one with all the excitement building and all the hype on social media coming up, it's one that I'm very much looking forward to.
Oh, you're going to get full coverage because you're going to be watching it while I sleep because of the time difference. So I tell you what, that it's been one of the hardest things to do, but it's enjoyable because to get up at 2 a.m. and to watch karting, on the other side of the world, and to watch USA drivers, Canada drivers, or just drivers I'm very familiar with, and just watching the Olympics of karting going on. There's certainly nothing like it. And I gladly will get up early in the morning to watch this. And so hopefully me and you will be able to watch it together and kind of talk, over instant message about the event and kind of be able to work together and provide that coverage for that event. And hopefully, at the Rotax US Trophy Final, we'll have a number of USA drivers earning tickets. So we'll be able to pump up another great Team USA program heading over to Portimao, Portugal.
Yeah. Hopefully we can see some representation of the United States over there and hopefully can bring home some hardware.
So that is it for this week in karting, episode number 49, September 14th, 2022. Again, a busy couple of weeks coming up. So we'll have a lot more podcasts. We'll have a lot more face-to-face. We'll have a lot more content coming your way. Busy next 4 weeks here for ekartingnews.com. So follow us on social media. Make sure you stay up to date with what's going on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And again, we'll have full coverage this weekend from Newcastle Motorsports Park for the United States Pro Kart Series Heartland Grand Prix. So on behalf of Nate Dean, I'm David Cole. Thank you again for tuning in to This Week in Karting.